Hello, friends, neighbors. John, your wish neighbor here. Welcome to Illinois and happy Canada Day long weekend. It's an odd one because it's not a long weekend for lots of us. Like myself, I work on Monday because Canada Day is Tuesday. But either way, I knew I had to talk some Canadian whiskey. And I was at a loss to think what I would do. I actually, my wife gave me this 35-year-old and said, why don't you shoot that? And I thought, yeah, I should. And then I went digging around and I thought, look, I still have three, not all four, I thought I had from the 2017 Northern Border release and Northern Border collection, whatever it is. This sparked huge interest for me in Canadian whiskey. Absolutely honored that I still have these. I'm pretty sure I've seen the Pike Creek, so I'm gonna go grab that at some point so I can have a complete collection and open it sometime, but I'm not opening it today. Then I thought, well, what am I drinking more now? And I have to say, I've fallen out of love with the big guys because they did this for 3 years and then it's just kind of like random releases every now and then. Bring this back, Dr. Don. Bring that back. I'm drinking craft whiskey these days. I really am. I'm drinking, Bridgeland, Sons of Van, Two Brewers, Black Fox, Okanagan Springs, like so many different craft releases. Macaloni's is new one to me, all great. So what I thought I'd do is, it's Canada Day. We certainly make fantastic rye. We're known for rye. Maybe I'll talk a little bit about the problem with us trying to TM rye. That's just ridiculous. But I will talk Canadian rye. So this one's from the big house, and this one's from a craft release, poured blind, just to keep the comments interesting or the conversation interesting. Pour something, pour a rye. Let's talk Canadian whiskey, where we've been, where we are, and just a little bit of what I like. Pour something. Come on back. 3, 4. Hey, as I said in the opener, these are blind, but they're not like unknown in the sense that the big house over here, I didn't crack my 12-year-old, is this. It's lot 40, but I did the dark oak because I thought that would be kind of fun. It kicks it up just a little bit a notch. It's also a little bit more percentage. We're at 48% here. I genuinely like the dark oak, so that's on deck. Not necessarily this one. I'm just saying it's there. And then I thought for craft, but a regular release, I'll try again this Sons of Vancouver, but they're wheated rye. It's their rye, different cask, I think ex-bourbon, virgin, and then they added, I think 20 or 25% wheat. It's on the back. I should really just look. So I thought, this represents, and these, again, they've been poured blind. I don't know where they are. This obviously isn't how they were mixed, but just to make it interesting, I thought, well, let's give these a go and talk a little bit about this. So this rye here, this one, or this one, just talk a little bit about the rye notes on this one. This is red apple, some cinnamon fruits. It's sweet, bit of oak, nice structure. Could be this one, could be this one. I'll let you know in a moment. One of the things that really pulled me in with this Northern Border special release collection is, like, these whiskeys were on the shelf. There was a Pike Creek, there was a Lot 40, there were, the regular JP, and then, like, they really told a story and kicked it up, right? 35-year-old, 17-year-old, 12-year-old, and the 21-year-old Speyside. And what was wild is, like, they came out at, like, I think this was $70. This was like $80, $90. And even this 35-year-old was, I don't know, 160. Like, it was still, it's a 35-year-old whiskey, but they were priced right. They had great stories. And then there was the promise that they were going to come out every year, and then they did. That was the 11-year-old was the lot first, how I remember them, and then there was the no age cast strength, and then it kind of just didn't happen, something like that. I don't know, and that's tough because the idea of looking forward to an annual special release, and they were age stamped and storied whiskeys really pulled me in. Now, which rye did I try? This one? Oh, this one's sweeter. There's actually a slight bubblegum note, which is interesting. I get that in some ryes. I don't remember getting it in either of these ryes. but I would say like an icing sugar note to some of the rye general spice. Yeah, sweeter fruits, stone fruits, peaches, apricots, that kind of thing. Okay, so a much sweeter nose with this one and softer in this one. A little more classic candy apple rye. So after being a little bit disappointed, or a lot disappointed, that these guys kind of stopped that annual release, at the same time, craft whiskey makers are coming out of everywhere, and they're really being transparent and open. Like, this is our process, this is our casking, this is the yeast we're using, this is our distillation length, this is like the fermentation time, this is, you know, all of the things that you really want. And there's some really amazing craft releases. I just did 3 and 3 to balance the shot, but honestly, if I look at my Canadian whiskey collection, 80% of it is craft. You've heard me talk about Bridgeland. You've heard me talk about Sons of Van. It's the one that's up here. And 2 brewers, like, just phenomenal. Like, you know, is there 17-year-old in here, like 15, at least 11 and 15-year-old in that one. Like, they've got some age in them. They've really worked their wood management. They're doing good things and worth paying attention to. Now, I've heard there's a bit of a problem in the craft whiskey industry, and it was from Tyler from Okanagan, that I really wish I could be part of standing up against, if I may. Let's taste these ryes. I think I know this one first, so we'll go in and we'll taste this one. Cheers. Boy, that's a classic rye. That is spicy and cinnamon, red fruit, oak backbone, drawing on the finish. A little bit of grass vegetable, but not, this is not a grassy rye. It's not that high 95.5 kind of grass rye that I get out of the States. I was going to say these are both 100% rye. That's not true. This is 100% rye, and this has a percentage of wheat. I really will check the back on it and tell you for sure if it's 20 or 25. I can't remember. This is a classic rye profile with lots of good fruit. Okay, I've cleared my palate. And I remember putting this on the camera, but I don't remember if I gave you a close-up of the Sons of Van. And what's kind of unique about this one is, and this is a place that craft releases struggle to find, and that is a regular on the shelf. So, like, they have been releasing special releases, you know, that 190 to 270 bottle release kind of thing. And when they're out, they're out. And I think that's really cool. I'm okay with batch releases. I really am. I actually think that lets you do natural color and those kinds of things because you're not worried about creating a consistent product so much. You're kind of like, hey, this one tastes like this. Grab it while you can. And I'm okay with that with craft releases. But at some point, you want to be on the shelf. You want to be behind the bar. You want actually that kind of name recognition and ability to get. Number one thing when I talk Sons of Van is like, John, I can never get that bottle. And that's too bad. This one I think is available, which is why they went that way. The big houses don't have that problem. Even when they did these special releases, there was thousands of these around, like thousands across the country. So like they don't have that problem. And then when they do a release like this, I'm sure there's batch variation, but I can't tell because they are blending huge numbers. Did I say what this is? I checked the back. When I cleared my palate, it's 25% wheat. I think the original cast strength one, or early, not original, was 20. That's why I keep getting mixed up. Okay, this rye, blind on this one. It's one of these two. On the palate. Cheers. That has a very different texture. And it's got, and I'm going to say creme brulee, and I really feel I know what it is. This has a cooked down sugars, a toasted dessert like that, like where you got lots of vanillas, but they're cooked, baked vanillas. And there is some, rye fruit. There's a little bit of drying on the back, which I also attribute to a lot of rye grain. There's not that much spice. It is there. There is some hug, but it's not a spice forward. It's a creamy, desserty forward rye. I'm pretty confident I know what it is. Maybe guess, and I'll keep talking. So I've shared with why I'm disappointed with this, and I've shared with why I'm drawn in to craft rye. No, craft whiskey. Yes, for sure, craft rye. I love rye. And I'm very proud that we are embracing that in Canada. But a couple of problems the way we're embracing it. One, that we allow people to call whiskey a rye whiskey when there's no rye in it. That just needs to stop, even with the big guys. Like, if you don't have rye in your product, don't call it a rye. It doesn't matter to me. And here I believe I'm speaking for whiskey connoisseurs. If you don't have rye in your whiskey, stop calling it rye. Just stop. I know that'll some people are like, what? No, it's a flavor profile. It's not a flavor profile. Rye is a grain. When you have a wheat whiskey, it has wheat in it. When you have a single malt barley, it has barley in it. Like, I just can't say that enough. That needs to stop. Or internationally, I'll continue to get comments like, John, I don't bother with Canadian because of, and that's one of the things. They can label anything a rye when there's no rye in it. Please stop. Now, these guys are doing it right in terms of what they have in it. You can read the back, you can talk to them, you can go online, you can find out exactly what's going on. And these special releases did it right. And I have to say Lot 40, I believe, is doing it right. It says 100% rye, so I'm going to believe that. So I think the big guys can too. So let's get behind that. The second thing is, I heard we're blocking whiskeys labeled rye from like the UK or overseas. Now, I have, maybe not on the shelf anymore, but I definitely have seen on the shelf recently whiskeys from overseas that say rye whiskey right on them. So I don't know if it's a new thing. I heard it's a new thing, or if the block is just not all that effective in Alberta. That seems to be the way we go with whiskey. But that also needs to stop. You know, I think it shouldn't be able to say Canadian whiskey on it if it's not Canadian whiskey. And I wish it would be, when it says Canadian, I mean the whole thing. Made in Canada, distilled, fermented, distilled, aged, bottled, produced, then it's Canadian whiskey. Got a couple on the shelf that say Canadian whiskey all over them that are kind of made here, sent somewhere, bottled, sent back to us. I don't need that stuff either. Anyways, I think we need to say, if it's rye whiskey, you can say rye whiskey, but it can't be Canadian rye whiskey if it's not made in Canada. Last thoughts on these? This has to be Sons of Vancouver. That creamy vanilla, toasted sweet fruits, apricot or peach. I get that when I go to Sons of Van. It's a 50.5%. Neither of these drink differently from their strength. Last sip of this one. That has to be Lot 40. It has to be Lot 40 Dark Oak. It's got, for me, a red fruit note. More oak because it's not the regular, darker, spicier palate. Little hotter, a little more cinnamon, a little cracked pepper. A little more, what I'm going to say, classic rye. Now, I could be wrong. That's not the point. The point was the conversation. I believe the big guys can put out good whiskey. These are that. Now, I haven't had the 35, but, you know. These represent quality, and I want to say integrity. Get back to doing that stuff. And these guys are doing it right. They're clear, they're labeling, and they are releasing their own liquid. That's the one thing I didn't talk about. It's that Tyler said, and I don't know how to find it, craft people are now relabeling or rebranding big house stuff and calling it craft. That feels like a lie. She said white was... Yeah. Okay, so I was right. Shocker. This is Sons of Van. This is Lot 40. That wasn't really a very good blind, but it maybe gives you something to guess while you're watching the video. So what are your thoughts? Have I offended you by saying the things I did about Canadian whiskey or labeling things rye? Let me know down below. But let's keep it to keep it to whiskey conversation as much as we can. And by the way, happy Canada Day. And actually, any of these, you're not going to be able to find these on the shelf. But any of these whiskeys up here would be just a fantastic conversation and celebratory whiskey to have at the table on Canada Day this coming Tuesday. Happy Canada Day, you guys. Thanks for joining me.